Hi, I'm Mandeep Singh with CMI. I'm a power systems and a backup systems architect. Today I will be talking to you about backups and data protection, some of the things to consider when picking a backup solution for your organization, and different backup models and strategies in the marketplace. Also, we'll be talking about what your different options are when you're architecting your backup infrastructure. Some of the key reasons why we need backups are to protect against data corruption, or to protect against disk or hardware failures, to protect against user errors, or you may have some regulatory or compliance requirements for your industry. One of the key things to keep in mind when you begin your backup planning is always keep your recovery goals in mind. We can make our backups as fast, as efficient, and as robust as possible, but it is the ability to restore that determines the effectiveness of the solution we pick and how effective it is in meeting your business continuity objectives. So how do we establish these recovery goals? So there are a few key factors that we have to consider. One of those is RPO. This stands for Recovery Point Objective. What this talks about is, in a case of a disruption or a failure, how much data loss are we willing to tolerate for a particular application or a business process? So let's say I have a server that's hosting a financial application and it fails at 10 a.m. and I need to restore from a backup that occurred the night before at 10 p.m. So in that particular scenario, I have essentially lost 12 hours worth of data. So my RPO is 12 hours. The second parameter we look at is what we call RTO, Recovery Time Objective. What this means is how long of a time can elapse in case a disruption occurs before that application or that business process has to be restored and brought online. So as in my previous example, if a failure occurred at 10 a.m., it takes me 3 hours to perform a restore. We're back online at 1 p.m. My RTO in that scenario is 3 hours. Some of the other factors that we look at is what type of data are we backing up? Are we backing up structured data? So is this a database, or is it an exchange data set, or are these virtual machines? Is this unstructured data? Is this a file server that is hosting documents, PDF files, Excel files, things of that nature? What we generally recommend is that you work with your business counterparts, work with your application owners, and have them determine these recovery requirements for the data set that you're protecting and backing up for them. So once we have established our recovery goals, how are we going to meet these recovery goals? How are we going to back up our data? So there's different models that we can use. There is the traditional backup model. This is a server-client architecture. So you have a server with some sort of backup software, such as IBM's Tivoli Storage Manager. You install an agent on your host that you're backing up, and then you back up from there to your backup server nightly or daily, or depending on some sort of schedule. These can be full or incremental backups. Now, in this scenario, your RPO is essentially tied to when the last full or incremental backup occurred. Then we have the second approach, is what we call CDP. This stands for Continuous Data Protection. In this type of mechanism, the data gets backed up as soon as it is changed. So if you're using a product like IBM's Fastback, you can install a Fastback agent on your server, and it will back up data to the Fastback server as soon as that data is changed. So with this particular model, you have near zero data loss. You can restore to a point in time within seconds to when a failure occurs. Then the third model or approach we can take is what we call snapshots. So let's say I have a host that's running an Oracle database, and it is sitting on 2 LUNs. So these are on some sort of storage. Let's say it's the IBM V7000. So these are 2 LUNs where our application data resides. What we can do is we can take a snapshot of these 2 LUNs, and then we can back up this snapshot to our backup server. This provides you a consistent point-in-time copy of your database. It offloads the processing of your backups from your host server. So you have three different ways: traditional backup model, a continuous data protection model, and a flash copy model. So we have talked about how to establish our recovery goals, how to back up our data. Now, where do we store this data to meet those RPO and those RTOs? Traditionally, we have used tape-based subsystems. So you have a tape library with tape drives, tape cartridges. You back up to your backup server, then it gets stored on the tape library. And sometimes you ship tapes offsite. This particular storage has the highest RTO because if you're trying to restore a backup, you have to find the tape, you have to mount the tape, then you have to restore from the tape. So to circumvent that, we have new devices called VTLs, a virtual tape library. These are disk-based devices, and what they do is they emulate a tape library in software. So to your backup servers, this VTL appears as a tape library, has tape drives, tape cartridges, but you get the speed of backing up to and from disk, restoring from disk. So your RTO is much, much lower than tape. And also you can take advantage of some advanced features on these devices, such as deduplication, compression, or the ability for remote replication. And then the latest and the newest option is the cloud. So there's different approaches that we can take with a cloud-based solution. You can install an agent on your host server that you're backing up and back up directly to the cloud. With this approach, all your data is stored and maintained in the cloud. You do not have to have any backup infrastructure or any backup software in-house. However, if you still prefer to have control over your policies, your retentions, your schedules, and you would like to keep your backup software in-house, but you would like to simply store your data in the cloud, then you could take a hybrid approach, where your host systems back up the data to your backup server, but the destination for that backup data is in the cloud. So that's the hybrid approach. Now, what that does is it gives you control over your backups. You define your schedules, you define your policies, etc. You can also take a third approach, which is an appliance-based model. In this case, your cloud vendor will supply you an appliance that you install in your local data center, and then your clients will back up to that appliance, and then some of that data gets sent to the cloud. So for example, I can say, I am going to store 1 to 2 days worth of backups on the local appliance, and the remaining data gets sent to the cloud. So if I need to restore something that was backed up a day before, it gets restored from the local appliance at LAN speeds for quick recovery. So there are a few things to consider if you're going with a cloud-based solution. You have to consider your network speed, your network bandwidth, because how much data you're backing up, how much data you're storing in the cloud. Do you have the personnel or the staff in-house to maintain your own backup infrastructure? If you don't, then the cloud is a better solution for you. Also, does your business prefer a OpEx model? Because with the cloud-based approach, you back up the data to the cloud, the vendor sends you a monthly bill based on how much data you backed up or how much data you're storing in the cloud. So we have talked about how to establish our recovery goals, how to back up our data, where to store our backed up data. Everything that we have discussed here today, it covers recovery and backups within the data center. You still need to have a unified solution and an overarching strategy that addresses disaster recovery and business continuity in case you have a data center failure or you have a regional disaster. Thank you for joining me in this session today, and we look forward to talking to you about how we can help you protect your data. For more info, please visit our website at www.cm-inc.com. Thank you.